Guys, welcome to another episode of the Lift Lab podcast. I'm here with a very special guest and friend of mine, Antoine Vaillant, and Daniel, who's also flown in from Hawaii today. So welcome, guys. Thanks for coming on, mate. It's good to see you and have you on board. You're currently in Toronto, area, close to Toronto, right?
Yeah, I'm actually in Hamilton,
You know?
which is like 40 minutes west of Toronto. So it's in the GTA area. The GTA is like the big kind of like neighborhood with Toronto, Burlington, Oakville,
Yeah,
and Hamilton. It's all like part of the same thing a little bit.
yeah.
And but Toronto is like the biggest city we have in Canada. So Hamilton is pretty big too, but it's
It's
more like to the
like the
west, I
little
guess.
brother of Toronto.
Yeah, it's like more like it used to be more of an industrial town,
Yeah.
lots of factories and now it's turning around a little bit more like a normal city
More
kind of
city
thing.
and stuff. Well, I'm excited to have you on board, mate. It wasn't that long ago I saw you in Mexico, and
Yeah,
before that I hadn't seen you. Goodness, I think it would have been for. I mean, I bumped into you quickly at the Arnold Classic,
yeah, yeah,
and then before that it might have been. I think it was the LA Chronicles that we got stuck
yeah.
into about 5 or 6 years ago or something.
I know it's crazy.
So
Yeah,
it's been a good trip.
So
Yeah.
how
I
did you
know.
guys meet?
Well, I first heard of Anton through a friend of mine. I was actually a big fan of his starting out. So I looked up, and I still do. I admire Anton for all his hard work and his bodybuilding, and also his resilience and the way that he's been able to, progress and grow. And I've followed his journey. So from when I started out, I'd watch Anton on YouTube. He's like one of the OG bodybuilders on YouTube. He had a really it was just a good channel, very wholesome, very energetic, but also just a crazy physique. Like I think you've always been more of a heavy, like in a heavyweight bodybuilding division. So me and Adam we'd like look up Anton or Frank and be like, these guys, they're the guys we want to try and look like when we started out.
That's crazy.
So
If you say someone's got a crazy physique, I was like, Calum saying someone's got a crazy physique. I'm
yeah.
like, yo, what's
Oh,
going on?
he does. He still does. It just got better and better.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's how I met. Yeah, so I met, and then we first met in LA when you come out, hung out for a little while. We went to Gold's Gym, made that ripping time little clip, that edit
Yeah,
you made on
yeah,
the Insta, and we just had a lot of fun. And I was kind of like I remember just picking your brains a bit on training, on bodybuilding, and all that. So you kind of like made bodybuilding more exciting than what it probably normally is for a lot of people, you know?
Yeah. So Anton, how was it like
yeah.
when you first met Calum then? Like what was
Well, it was already pretty damn popular, so it was kind of cool to meet I guess a superstar like that, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like we were just friends right away. And I actually came down with my friend Dorian and some other of
That's
my
right.
friends that came down to see Frank.
Yeah.
And then all of that apartment was like already, everybody was sleeping there. There was no more room. So I slept in Cal's little condo there. So we're just hanging out and had the most fun with him. So I think we spent the most time together. And you were also like coming out of a relationship back then too. So
Yeah.
I was like, it was a good distraction for you, I guess.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun. And the cool thing about that week that I spent there is that I told Callum, like, what, there's a Muscle Beach contest this weekend? Dude, Cal, you should do it.
Yeah.
And then,
uh
like 3 days before,
Yeah.
we signed him up to do this bodybuilding show at the Muscle Beach contest in Venice
True.
Beach. And then
Yeah.
he won the whole thing. But
Oh, is that when
we
you had the
decided like right
glasses and all?
before.
Yeah,
Yeah, they had
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
the AV aviators.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and all that was decided like 3 days prior, and it's all on my YouTube. You
Wow.
just type the Antoine Vaillant LA Chronicles, and you'll
That's
find
it.
a every day we filmed and I uploaded stuff, and it was pretty funny. I think did you had a zebra
You
speedo or
just had the
something?
Zebra Speedo. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had like
Zebra
some
budgie
sunglasses
smugglers
on.
on.
Yeah, that was
Just
great. That
extra
was
loud.
funny.
Just a little bit extra, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, people were like, "What the fuck is it? Who's this guy competing in this?" Because the level wasn't that high, right?
Yeah,
But it was
just
your
like
first.
amateur.
Was it your first
Novice.
IFBB show kind of thing? Or was it
Yeah.
first show ever? Or no?
Well,
You
is
did
it
Muscle
sanctioned with, it
Universe
was like,
already.
I don't even know is it sanctioned with NPC or IFBB?
I think it is.
It's like, yeah,
And I,
it's a little like a branch off of there somewhere, but it was the very first time I dipped my toes in in those waters. It was fun. Yeah, did all
yeah,
right
because you
too, I
already did
guess.
Mr. Universe
Can't,
before that, obviously.
Yeah, before was that's right, different federation. Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
are you competing still right now? I mean, so the
Yeah.
great thing is I don't know anything about Antoine. I'm like,
No, no,
I get to
it's all good.
learn. Yeah,
Yeah, so the last show I did was the Arnold Classic back in March, which is like the pretty much the second biggest show in the world, and it's invite only, and Arnold is the promoter kind of thing. So I
right.
actually met Arnold. Arnold was there at the weigh-ins, the athletes check in. I got to take a picture with him, shake his hand, and all that kind of stuff. So that was very cool. So that's the last one I did, and I did the Olympia twice already. 2020 and 2022 was my two Olympias,
Yeah.
and I won two IFBB Pro shows. So that's pretty much my latest kind of little career track record.
Accomplishments. Yeah.
Got you, got you.
Which is pretty
Yeah,
which is big. It's yeah, it's big in especially in the heavyweights division. Like it's not like this is like
yeah, the
the big
open
boys, the
class.
open class.
Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah,
open class is no weight category. It's all like the biggest in the world.
yeah,
And pretty much, I don't know if you know what the Olympia is, but the Olympia is like the Super Bowl of
Yeah,
bodybuilding. It's
yeah,
the highest show you can do and stuff.
yeah. True.
I
yeah.
made it there
We were
twice.
with Jay Cutler a couple weeks back, and we got to see the quad stomp in person.
That's right. Yeah, the Jay
Yeah,
Cutler quad stomp.
Yeah, that was crazy when he came back 2009. And because the thing is, like everybody, like you got beat by Dexter Jackson in 2008, right? And then everybody kind of wrote him off because he didn't have a good progression anymore. He was kind of like past his prime, people said. And then he lost to Dexter Jackson, and Dexter was really good that year. And after that, like we kind of wrote him off. But then I guess he just kicked it in second gear, and the best Jay Cutler ever stepped on stage in 2009.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that was good. Yeah, that
yeah.
was pretty impressive. I remember like looking on the message boards back then. The some pictures that have been uploaded of him like in his backyard. Then I was like, holy shit, that's like a. And then he changed his hair, so it was like a
Mm,
new Jay Cutler. It was like it was crazy. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
mm.
back in
What's on
the
the cards for? So I know we spoke not long ago, but right now for you, competition wise, what's going to be next for you?
Well, I'm gonna compete next year. I'm not competing this year because of a reason that you know personally, but I didn't say online yet, so we're not
Okay,
gonna talk about that.
gotcha,
Got it?
gotcha, gotcha.
And so that's why I'm not doing it this year.
Yeah,
So next year, I'm thinking maybe a local show, maybe Toronto Pro, maybe
yeah,
New York,
yeah,
because I'd like to make it to the Olympia again.
yeah,
So that's probably another goal as far as competing goes. But honestly, I'm always going, in tandem with my health. If it's everything's fine, I'll do it because
yeah,
I'm checking everything all the time, right? And as I'm getting older, you should never be careless. But when you're young, you don't think about that, right? But now as I
no,
get older, I notice that after every show, it takes me longer to recover, get everything rebalanced compared to before. So you
mm,
never want to do a show, and then after that you do blood work, and then things are worse than the year before, and then you do another prep, it's worse than the prep before, and it's like you got to look at the progression, right? So I want to make sure that I'm always getting healthier, or at least staying the same
mm.
until I gonna retire and things like that. Because
So
I'm
going
competing
into
for like
say your next show or something, like do you have like a different approach with in terms of like okay, um, like do you want to like put on because you've already got a lot of muscle and mass going into like say your next show. Is there something that you're like okay, you know what you need to work on, or is there something that you want to improve particularly?
well for the Arnold that I did the last prep, the whole year before that, I was just kind of maintaining my size. I was not trying to be bigger.
Yeah,
I was actually maybe the same weight I am right now,
which
but
is what are you weighing at
not
the
as
moment?
not as like lean and muscular. So I was like actually had less muscle and more fat.
Yeah,
But I didn't try to like gain a lot of muscle because for me, if I start eating a lot of food and keep the training the same, I'm gonna go over 300 pounds. And
yeah,
just for me and my heart, it's just not a good thing to do anymore. So
mm.
I can't afford to push the size in the off season. So the off season is more about being healthy and more relaxed on
So would you
certain
say that
parts.
you've changed? So in the past, perhaps you would like be a bit more um, kind of flexible with your diet on the off season and just getting in more calories versus today you're more selective and trying to stay leaner in the off season.
Yeah, but I was pushing the scale back in the day. So I was like, I would try to make the scale go up. And
Yeah,
one time I went to 330 pounds. after like my bicep there. I was like, I gotta gain size back quick, and I went to 330 pounds.
Yeah.
Then I dieted down back to 270. So that was like a lot of weight that I
Dieted
lost for
back,
no.
dieted back to
Yeah,
270. I've never even clocked 260, I don't think. So for me,
no.
270, dialing it back to 270, it's just, it kind of blows my mind a little bit, you know? Because how tall
Well,
are
I
you?
was.
You'd be like
I'm
six.
like I'm like 6, but
Yeah.
just like barely 6.
Which
With
is,
shoes on, I'm 6 foot.
yeah.
But yeah, I was eating like a pound of rice every meal, maybe like 7 ounces of chicken and some olive oil. Then I would drink like apple juice with my meals. So it's
Apple
like you could
juice.
tell,
Yeah.
yeah, because I saw somebody do that and it worked, but then it was like a lot of fat, water. So
I
I
saw
don't think,
somebody. I saw somebody blend up rice in my apartment once in their smoothie, and a lot of other random stuff too. So I've
yeah,
seen how you put food away, and it blows my
yeah, but
mind how
now
you
I,
can just
yeah,
put it
now I'm
away like
actually
that.
trying to stay under 285.
Yeah,
I was 283 yesterday after my cardio, so I think I'm around there. So if I can just maintain that weight
maintain there. Yep.
and just train super hard, and so I think with bodybuilding, the
Mm.
longer you work out, the more your muscles will kind of shape up and mature, even if you don't
Yeah.
gain weight. So
Can
like I've been
yeah
training for like 20 plus years. So
yeah
the thing is, I don't need to like really push for the weight in the off season, I think, and I can't anyway.
yeah
And like it for the Arnold, I just started my prep, and then everything starts at the same time.
yep
So like I can actually gain muscle during the prep. Like Kevin Levrone back in the day would do that. You would see him
yeah
like
blow
looking like he's not even
night
like
and
a
day.
pro bodybuilder, and
Yeah,
then he would be 6 months later like top three at the Olympia. So that's
incredible.
more what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna take it easy as far
Yeah.
as
Do you
try to pack on size, and then when it's time to prep, I'm gonna kick, get it
yeah
on and
do you find
do
it
it.
easier now having the experience in the gym and everything? That's easier. Say if you lose the weight or you come off like just to put the muscle back on. Do you find it come back on faster? And do you also think that you can now you don't have to use as much PEDs and stuff to get the same results? Like, because sometimes I feel like less is more as you get on with it. Whereas at the start when we were younger, like I don't know, I used to really I try and take some pretty good cycles to put on as much mass, but these days I feel like I don't need as much, but I can still put on a good amount of size.
I think what happens is that I think that it changed for everyone. Some people will take a lot,
Yeah,
but I think if you have good genetics
yeah,
and you're training right and you're eating right, you just need that little bit more just to make sure that all your training, you're recovering from it,
yeah,
and then you're golden. But some people will like, it depends like who you're talking to, right? Some
yeah.
people will be like, I'll take all this shit, whatever. And then we
Mm,
can see some guys, they're like, juiced up to the gills. But I think if you have like genetics given to you by God that are
mm.
pretty good, you don't need to just, it's kind of like
So,
we have it easier a little bit. But
yeah,
I think most pros or have really good genetics, especially the one at the top. So
sure.
they can take less and get
Mm-hmm.
away with it.
Sure.
And
So
then some other guys, I think the guys who take the most stuff is probably like the guys who have been like for 6 years in a row, they're top five the nationals, and they can't get their pro card. I
Mm.
think they're the one pushing the hardest, to
Yeah,
be
pushing the
yeah.
honest.
envelope. Yeah.
So how does that work? So for layman guys like, probably most people out there that are not doing competitive bodybuilding, right?
Right.
How does it work with like genetics versus doing PEDs, right? Like I'm
Mm.
thinking, as a normal guy, you're probably like, oh, if I'm on PEDs, I'm just gonna get jacked, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't work like that, right? You kind of have to have like a blend of like,
Yeah, I think it's like, and Anton, you can jump in any time, but it's kind of like if you've got that, like like for example, I was looking at videos of my little brother, Eddie, last night, and he was natural for the longest amount of time, and it just blew out of his mind because we're like, he has got, like, he's gifted, he's got the genetics, he's got the foundation, he's got the, all the good symmetry and muscularity. So then
yeah, basically what people say
yeah,
about you.
yeah. It was a little carbon copy of me, but I think, and then when you already have that in place, and then you decide to get on the, get on the juice, it's just going to amplify that a lot more. Whereas people who haven't got as good a foundation or structure, then or metabolism and things like that, I think it might, they might find themselves, taking more of something twice as much more and not getting even the same amount of results. But I'm sure it's very different for, like I said,
Like
for
what
everyone.
happens?
Yeah.
Like honestly, like I've never taken any PEDs, right? Obviously, you could tell. But like the reality of it is like, so what happens? Are you just like, do you take it and then it just like automatically just start like getting jacked or like?
Well, you have
So,
to.
so what happens is pretty much this. I'll try to explain it. So let's say if you have a workout and you train like the hardest you could, and then your naturally your body will kind of rebuild the muscle up to a point. All right. So it's like, and then it just stops from your genetic ability. So if you add some more hormones in the body, it's like you will recover more from that training all the way up to like you're past your genetic ability, and then this is what happened. So it's like you don't take that and get jacked. It's just like it just it's making you recover the best you can from the training you're doing. So it's like that's why you can see like cyclists, they will take it. Like Lance Armstrong got caught or whatever, right? They will take it, but they're not going to build like muscle, be super jacked. They're going to recover extremely well from the training they're doing. So, and for them, their genetic is like really good with cardio. So their heart and their cardiovascular capability will be past their genetic ability, and then they'll be just Superman on the bike. So that's what happens. So that's why there's like PDs in all sports. It's just you don't notice them. Even in golf, people take growth hormone in golf and things like that. And yeah, like as because
Help
there is some
recovery,
power when you drive.
and
Ah.
just boost. It's just muscle recovery, so you can heal faster and perform better each time.
So how many? So I've been reading. So there's been like some questions from some of the listeners and stuff, and actually a lot of the listeners are asking about this particular subject, right? So I actually have two questions. So one, how many people in general? I can't like I'm coming at it very noob, right? Like I don't know, I think that I have a unique lens because I'm not in like the bodybuilding circuit. I'm coming from fresh
Third
from
party,
as a technologist or whatever, right?
Yep.
Or as an entrepreneur, but as far as everyone competing, what percentage of people do you think are on PEDs? Or even in the fitness.
Well, it's a hard question because people will say they're not.
That's why I'm asking you guys though. Like,
who can really know how much percentages?
The
of
thing
people
is,
are
like
taking
I can
gear
say
or
because
not?
I can't
Probably
speak
more
for
than
everyone.
say they are. Put it
okay,
that way.
But as soon as there's competition and there's money involved and like performance, real athletes who are really obsessed with winning, they'll do whatever, right? So I think as in any sport that there is money to win, there's competition, people will find a way to get the advantage. It's just in bodybuilding, in the contract when you sign the VB, it says there'll be like testing and stuff. But I don't think there's as strict as USADA in the UFC. You know what I mean? But
right.
even in the UFC, they will have like people will try to find like peptides, this and that, loop arounds, and try to like beat the. I think USADA is not the one anymore, but we'll try to beat the test, right? So I think if people also like in general, there's a lot of people who are willing to drink and take recreational drugs. Like so there's people who are not even competing who will try whatever too. So I think the percentage is pretty high. And in the gym, if you go to a gym, depending on which gym you go, I'm guessing like a good amount of people are probably on stuff, but I don't have a number because there's no studies, and it will have to be like an honest study. You ask everyone anonymously, and then they say yes or no. So it's kind of hard to tell. But I think in a lot of competitive sports, especially like everything that requires size, muscle size, strength, and speed, and all this stuff, I think like the top guys are probably taking something, and maybe some are not like because I think I've heard that Sydney, she's Miss Olympia figure. She has such awesome genetics. I don't think she said somewhere that she doesn't take anything. And I look at her, I mean,
Is it a natural Miss? Is that Miss Olympia figure?
Miss Figure Olympia.
Yeah.
But his name is Sydney. But if you look at her, she's not super big. She just has crazy shape, and she doesn't get super shredded.
Yeah.
But she's also like she has black genetics. She's black.
Yeah.
So I think some genetics, like I said, that's genetics are the main factor if you're going to do well or not in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
What's like the key things that because
And height too would come into it as well, depending on which like class as well. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, obviously you guys are constantly looking at shape. I mean, I've been around a lot of but I've worked with bodybuilders like for the last 10 years, right?
Mm.
And there's a common theme of like they could just tell, right?
Mm.
Like what are some of the things that are like the key things that you can kind of notice right away if you do know someone's on or they're not?
If they have like a really good amount of size and they're shredded.
If they put on a lot of size really quickly and shredded, yeah, that's usually a
Yeah, like if
telltale
they're
sign.
super
Or
peeled, like
it,
because
pe-
if you look at the natural bodybuilders out there who are like super tested, they're gonna be like 225
mm,
max, and they're like super lean, but if you get that paper thin skin everywhere, shredded glutes, and the guy's like 250 and he's like 5'7",
mm,
that's like, and everything is round and bubbly and
just,
stuff.
yeah.
It's pretty easy to tell.
Mm,
And but yeah, the thing the reason why a lot of people are afraid to talk about that stuff directly is because there's some countries it's still illegal,
mm-hmm,
and there's also a stigma against the general population that is like cheating because of the baseball drama that happened years and years ago
mm.
with Barry Bonds and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
of like, oh, it's cheating, or the Olympics with Ben Johnson,
Yeah.
things like that. But the thing that's crazy is, okay, Ben Johnson is Canadian, right? He got caught for Winstrol. You
Mm.
don't think the second place guy it was the American? I don't remember his name, but the second place guy didn't take anything. So it's like, so there's a lot
Interesting.
of that, of like a drama and like cheating, this and that. And also a lot of time I don't like to talk about it because I'm not a doctor for one. So I shouldn't be talking about things that people could take and hurt themselves, because if you're going to take something that's not natural inside you, it won't be natural either.
Mm.
And then it could be bad side effects you don't want from that. And they call it side effects, but they're not on the side. They're just effects from it too. They're just
Mm-hmm.
negative effects you don't want.
Yeah.
Mm.
So a lot of people will just not even think
They'll
about that.
ignore them and they'll just focus on the short term,
Yeah.
not
So
the
I
So
wanted
it's
to,
like
long term sides.
I,
you have to, like, if somebody will want to take that, you're gonna be followed by a
So there are
doctor,
negative
things like
effects and
that.
positive effects, so side effects and front effects.
yeah, so
Well, it's all the
There are
same thing, yeah.
negatives and there's like people just focus on the positives. They don't want to think and concern themselves with the negatives. And a lot of the time it can happen when it's too late. And the worst case scenario is obviously, if someone's heart gives out or if they pass, that's the worst possible outcome. And then there's levels of it too, I guess. And that just depends on the person, on their drug usage, on their habits, a lot of different factors. But
Yeah,
I'm
so
not a doctor,
that's what I wanted
yeah.
to kind of ask about, right? So the other part I wanted to ask is obviously both you guys have probably seen the fitness industry boom in the last like 10 years, right? And it's gotten so much crazy. You got fitness brands, supplement companies, all the fitness industry, because I've seen it grow substantially over the last 10 years, right? What effect do you think PEDs, like, because I do feel like it's become a little bit more normalized on social media. Like, I remember 10 years ago, it was like everyone was like calling people out with like, hey, they're on something. They're on. Nowadays, it seems like it's not as like crazy to like talk about it. What effect do you think that like bodybuilding has had on like the younger generation, and maybe even in that particular field of taking PEDs? You know what I'm saying? Because Calum, you've talked about it. You're saying, hey, there's like a lot of warning. Like, some of the
Yeah.
older guys, is there like a responsibility, or is there just kind of like what are your thoughts on like just the fitness industry itself and PEDs on the effect of the younger kids?
Well, I think, let's say if back in the day, 20% of the people would be taking it, but only 200,000 people in the US were doing bodybuilding.
Mm.
Now there's maybe the percentage is the same, but there's like triple the amount of people doing it. So there'll
Yeah.
be more people
Oh, come on.
doing it too. So I don't know, but you're right. With social media, everything's more connected. There's more information everywhere. Maybe there's more people now. The percentage is higher, but we don't really know that. But the thing is like there's so many different personalities in the world. Some are impulsive, reckless. Some will be very tedious. People will be scared. They won't even do anything that's dangerous to them. And so it's like it depends. I'm sure there's some teenagers they're on like shit they shouldn't be on because they're just like kind of like stupid because they're young and they don't really
They
care.
see they
And then
yeah.
there's some other people who will like study everything, like just like and just use it very like with a good system, a good protocol, very
Responsibly.
structured.
Irresponsible
So
users and responsible users. Put it down to
yeah,
those two
so
classes, I guess.
it's like
Yeah.
there's such an array of people, but honestly, like my opinion on that is like if you're not competing, if it's not part of your job and you're making your whole career out of it, like, is it really worth it? Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Why do you want to be bigger?
Why do you want to
And
risk your health? Yeah, health
it's like,
for
is it
what's the
for more
return?
likes on IG or whatever? You're like,
Mm.
why are you doing this? So I think that's why you see a lot of bodybuilders when they retire, they kind of just stop all that. They get healthy, downsize, and they only do the normal amount of testosterone per week with TRT levels and
Yeah, maintain
things like that. So
normal
I
effort
don't think
levels.
anybody should be doing that anyway, unless you're like you make the decision, okay, I'm gonna do this because this is the path I choose in my life, and I want to make a living out of whatever sport I'm doing, whatever it is,
Okay, I got a quick
football,
question.
whatever.
Yeah, that, no, that's pretty
Oh
much.
yeah.
I want to jump over there, Anton, because I've got a lot of people, and I've seen you promote it quite a bit. Is the BP 157? Now
Yeah.
I used it quite frequently when I had my surgery for my knee and for my bicep tear, and I've got people even asking me now about how to use it, and I kind of, this is a great opportunity because I've got you on the pod now. Maybe you can tell me a little bit as well, because I've had directions from a coach on how to use it, and I've got a few friends, even in this room today, that have got sore elbows and shoulders and knees and stuff, that would be interested in learning a bit more. What's your How do you recommend, or do you have a recommendation? Is there different doses of one BP 157, or what? How would you recommend it? The best way to use it, and what do you use it for?
Well, so this will be just like a hypothetical suggestion because, like I said, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
But the thing with that that's kind of cool is that no really side effects. The only side effect, well, side effect, you know what I mean, that I looked into that I was wondering, but it's been like it's not really been proven is that if you because it increases blood flow in areas where the body needs it, and sometimes if there will be a tumor that would grow there, it might grow faster with the BPC for some reason.
Okay.
But that's not been like it was the same thing they said back in the day with the growth hormones. Remember that? They would say that, oh, if
Yeah.
you have a tumor, you're going to grow
That's what.
bigger. But with all the people that I know in the industry, I never heard of that one time.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So kind of a bit of
and
a myth,
BPC is the
maybe.
same thing. So
Is it
you can
site?
buy
Yeah.
yeah. So the website I get it from is the Biolabs
Yep.
shop website.
Yep.
It's actually in Europe somewhere. I think it's
I had a look
Poland.
on your thing. It's in UK. You have
Yeah,
a
in the
code. Yeah.
UK. Yeah.
You
So
can.
there's
So
a
people
few
can use.
different
Yep.
websites, but
People can use.
yeah.
You have a
So
code on it, right? AV.
yeah,
And they can get
AV,
it.
you'll save some money
Yep.
and you can order it. There's a lot of other products there too.
Yep.
But the BPC, I think it's like if you take like 250 microgram a day,
Yes.
that's good. And you put it
In
exactly where you kind of hurt or
where it's
around
hurting.
it.
Okay. So it's site in, yeah, in the
Yeah,
area.
so
Yep.
then what it will do, some people their pain goes away right away. So what does that mean
Yeah.
is that your pain was only inflammation because it does reduce inflammation.
Right.
So you didn't heal right away as it hurts because your pain came from inflammation of that place where you
Right.
were hurting.
Right.
So that can reduce the inflammation. And then for the longer period of time, it will increase blood flow in this area because sometimes in the tendons and ligaments, there's not a lot of blood vessels in that. So you would do something there to increase the blood flow, and then the nutrients will come and build up and heal up. Because it's all about like blood flow, I think. So
Yeah.
it's like if because this how do you build your tendons back? So if it's torn, how do you connect all the
You
proteins
need to get
together so
that
it's
blood
built
flow
again?
cycling around
You
to
need you
push
need
all the
blood. You need
nutrients
the
and
blood to
healing.
carry all the nutrients there. So that's what kind of BPC is doing. That's like a rough explanation.
Okay.
But the cool thing is that, like I said, is that there's no like adverse bad effects
Yeah.
from doing that. And there's also like capsule forms you can take that will heal your gut.
Someone literally asked me yesterday, Kate, can I take pill form of the BP 157? I
Yeah.
actually hadn't heard of it in pill form before, and I just said, I'm sure you can take them. Is it safe? But probably my guess would be that it probably wouldn't be as absorbed as much because it has to go through the liver instead of being directly into the site.
Well, there it depends because if you just have it the raw form and you eat it, I
Mm.
think the body would kind of destroy it and
Right.
you
It's
won't
got to
get
pass
much
through
effect
the
from it.
digestive system and all that, right?
Yeah, but then if you add the amino acid arginine to it, so you'll see like Biolabs has it. It's BPC 157 ARG.
Mm.
So they attach arginine to it, and that will kind of bind and they kind of resist it will be digested more in the gut.
Efficient.
Because
Yeah.
I think the stomach will destroy most of the thing if
Yeah.
we just put it there
Take
because
the
it's pretty
capsule. Yeah.
it's acidic.
Yeah.
So then it's really good for the gut if you take the BPC 157 arginine, and it's been shown to help also with like injuries a little bit in the body, but I think it's mostly for the gut.
Yeah.
So that's what I take that right now. I only take that one for because I'm feeling pretty good
Yeah.
as far as my joints go.
Yeah.
So I take the BBC 157 for
Mm.
the stomach, and it's like my stomach's been feeling great.
Stomach health.
You know,
Yeah.
So how
yeah.
does this? So I'm sorry. I'm like, so and I know some of the listeners will probably have the same question, right? So this is like basically you're self-medicating, right? Because this isn't like a prescription that you get from a doctor, right? Like this is like I heard about this thing, I want to take this, let's try it. So is this all like just trial and error, or is there like a standardized like script to follow? And is this
Well,
just like how it's been in the
so
bodybuilding?
the thing is like so there's two doctors that are helping me usually. One is Dr. Dwayne Jackson. He doesn't practice anymore, but he's the one who goes over my blood work and help me with like my heart, the kidneys, and all that stuff. So I think you need a doctor to help you out with that.
Right.
And then the other doctor that's helping me is the Dr. Khan, Adil Khan. He's the guy who made PRP super popular. He's in Dubai right now treating he treated Jay Cutler, Bumstead, and back in the
Mm.
day, this clinic, the Gallia Clinic, what back in the day was working with, was treating Tiger Woods and Mike Tyson and this and that.
Mm.
So the thing is, you need doctors
Mm.
who, because at school they teach a certain thing and they've been teaching a certain thing for a little while,
Right.
but you
The
need
best thing you can
doctors
do
who
is
kind of want to
get
push the
advice from coaches and doctors. Yeah.
So that's the
Verify.
yeah.
key,
Then
right?
you
Is like
Yeah.
make sure because there's all these guys on YouTube or there's gonna be like content that's out there and they talk about these things, but one of the key things that maybe needs to be talked about more is like
Verify how verified it is or how accurate and truth it is.
well and also having like a doctor or someone that can kind of help you.
Experience and knowledgeable in the area. They
Yeah.
can understand you,
yeah.
and then you can tell them what's going on, and they can give you kind of at least some guidelines
What,
on what to do.
what I'm saying is that let's say if it's just some guy on YouTube who mentioned it, I wouldn't be trying that stuff. But if you need doctors around you that are like pushing the limits of medicine,
Mm.
it's like this is new stuff that they're trying and they're doing their own studies. And if doctors are telling me like, hey, this is pretty good, but they're not like doctors that you'll meet at your general clinic. They're
Right.
just doctors who are really studying and are really up to date with everything. So it's like it's that's why I started taking it, is because I tore my bicep twice, each of them, and before that I tore my ligament, my tricep a
Mm.
little bit. And that was the first time I used BPC. That was back in 2018, and it healed in 4 weeks, 50%. Yes, I saw the ultrasound. The hole was like this, and then after 4 weeks later, it was like that. So I'm like, that's
Jeez.
pretty quick. So
It's
it's
Yeah.
like
like,
some Wolverine stuff right there.
yeah, well, they call it the Wolverine compound.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, yeah,
Schnicket,
yeah.
schnicket. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a mix of PRP and BPC I did back then, and really helped. So yeah, if you're able to go see Dr. Khan for PRP,
Mm.
depending on if it's a soft tissue injury, it's really effective. So and it helped like with herniated disc. But then again, PRP is also new, so it's like there's no like studies that have been going on for 30 years. So it's like super advanced medicine
What was that?
that's
So,
new.
Anton, what was it?
PRP.
Oh, PRP. What's the?
Yeah, yeah. They take your blood
Yeah.
and they make like a super kind of blood concentrate with like all your blood cells,
Yeah. And
and
they
then
put it
they
back in.
shoot that up in your injury. Yeah, they
That's
actually you see it on the ultras. You've done it before, Calum?
no, I heard
PRP.
about it. Yeah, when I did my
So
knee.
it's like
Yeah.
you see your let's say your shoulder in the ultrasound. Then you see the doctor putting the needle. So you see the needle in the ultrasound going where you see the little hole where it's there.
Yeah.
Then it fills up your hole with all this super blood.
Super blood. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
kind
and
of
then
so it's kind of like a bit like blood doping almost. Like you just like
yeah, kind of, but
sleeve.
like
Yeah.
directly in the injury. And that's pretty new, but like doctors are doing that now. So they have clinics they can do that. And now
Mm.
another thing they've been doing, they inject you in the hip, they extract like stem cells from your hip,
That's
and they will shoot it somewhere else.
yes.
Man,
Yeah,
we're
I've
like
heard of
we're
Yeah,
that
so
like
they've
too.
been doing all kinds
robots
of
now.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah.
So BPC 157 is actually a peptide. It's like just a protein that will create more blood flow where you're injured and stuff. So that's pretty new also. So
Yeah.
the the reason why it's not in the doctors are not prescribing it is because I think it's too new.
Mm.
And also the big pharmas are like, how can I make money with this? And as soon as they gotta find a way to make money with this, they will make it illegal to like that only them will be able to like sell it. So
Right.
that happens sometimes, right? It's like before in Canada, weed was illegal, so all the people were like, all the dealers were selling weed, and then now it became legal just as for medicinal purposes. And for a while, like the government had like shotgun for everything, and now you can have like weed shops around.
Yeah.
The government takes a part of that, and so it's like
It's a
you
It's all
can't. It's like
business.
business. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
business. So I think for now it's like the BPC 156 is still in the gray area. It's not
Yeah.
illegal and it works. So and it's not killing anyone. So I think they're just not in a hurry to
What
do
do you
something about it.
what do you think about what do you think about weed and bodybuilding? Like in terms of like, have you ever tried like, or do you or have you ever tried like smoking weed to help with your food or your sleep or your, you know, or anything like that, or
No,
have you always just been
no,
pretty
weed is the only drug that makes me kind of freak out.
okay?
I
Yeah.
never, I'm not compatible with it.
Yeah.
There's, because I went to a lot of rehabs, right? And
That's something I wanted
there
to
was a lot
also
of
mention.
kids.
So Anton, and it's another big reason why I look up to Anton as a bigger brother, and also because he's also struggled. He struggled with addiction. He went through rehab recovery, so he went through a lot of that years before I did, and battled. You know, you've battled the darkness, you've harnessed goodness from it all, and he's come out on the other end just amazing, and made a huge comeback in the bodybuilding because you disappeared offline for a
5 years
while
of,
there.
yeah.
You know, you were going through. You know, you went through a rough patch. So when I went through my rough patch, I think Anton was one of the only persons that I actually contacted when I was even in rehab or in the hospital or something. And it was just like here and there, but I just remember that I just even having that one person that I could just relate with for me, and he was always checking in. You always checked in on me, and I, to this day, have to say thanks for that and appreciate you. But yeah, please tell us a little bit about what your struggles were there and how you were able to overcome them, and a little bit of a yeah, it's just for anyone who's watching, who's battling addiction, who's gone through these struggles, who's come out. And we even spoke about the other day on ways that you can, you know,
Mm.
make yourself accountable or stay on the straight and narrow and those sort of things. So yeah, yeah, if you
Well,
jump in,
I'll keep it simple for everyone. So you say, how did I overcame it? I didn't.
right,
We did. So by myself, I could not do it.
yeah,
It's impossible. By myself alone, I can't do it because it's like I got a thinking problem pretty much. So why would I use my brain that's the problem to try to fix myself? So by myself, I couldn't do it. So the only every time I would relapse really hard, the only thing that would stop me is if I would like something really bad consequence would happen, and then I would go to rehab. And then in rehab, I would relearn to live without drugs. And I did 5 of those. So it wasn't a quick fix for me. I did like so my first one was in 2015, and my last one was like 3 years ago. So I had like my recovery is like is almost 10 years old. I started recovery, right? And I only have 3 years clean. So
yeah.
a lot of failures. But
Wait. So 10 years ago was probably the first time that you got exposed to it. Yeah,
no, the first time I like did like hard drugs, like
yeah.
that I really got lost control was like
How,
2013.
how old would you have been?
2013, I was like 26,
Yeah. Okay.
27,
That's
26.
Can you share like
that's probably
what you
common
kind of
knowledge.
got into? Like, I mean, just
Well, at first, I only did. I was when I was 20. I went to the raves, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is amazing!" With the pills, this and that. But then I would go like once a month, whatever, and
Yeah.
I would go pretty hard. But then I would like stop, and I was able to do other things. And sometimes I would take a speed pills and things like that, and I was fine, right? But later on, when I started doing like harder drugs like that, I
Mm.
just couldn't control,
It
and I
slowly,
just
progressively gets worse because that's kind of
yeah,
how it even
they
happened with
call it it's a
myself.
progressive disease.
Yes, it kind of
It's a
starts with
progressive disease, yeah.
yeah. It starts with just a rave or a festival or something once a year, and then it's like, you know, a few times a year, and then it's almost it just progressively, slowly can, before you know it, you know, it's become a problem,
right.
hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, not everyone's like that. So there's
No.
some people who would have tried the same things I did, and they would have just the next day they're fine. They just don't want to do more.
Mm.
But for me, because I'm an addict, my brain is an addict. If I take some more, it just makes me want to take more. It's like a because I was born, maybe not born, but when I was a kid, like a void started appearing in me, and then I felt empty all the time, like I was lacking something all the time. And then when I found drugs, the hole was like I didn't feel it. It was like it filled. I was like, oh my God, I feel good for once, for the first time in my life. And then my brain was like, so you took this and you made your whole pain of your life go away in 1 second. I'm gonna remember that.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then when the pain is there again, the brain's like, hey, remember what you did last time? You took 1 second, you felt good. Do that again.
Yeah.
And then the more you do it, the more your brain becomes programmed and hardwired, and then you just can't stop.
Yeah.
It's like the more you do something, the more the connections in the brain become stronger. And the thing is, if you go from feeling like shit to feeling the best you ever felt in a second, the bigger the gap of like instant gratification, the more addicted you become, the quicker.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so that's what happens. And then I just bad decisions after another, and just because I was young and I was impulsive and obsessive, it's like I became addicted really easily.
Mm.
So that's what happened. So it's like it's not my fault that my brain is like that, but right now it's my responsibility
But also,
to
you
be
had
in
no
recovery.
idea. I'm sure you couldn't have understood that when you were going through it. It's like you don't know. You
No,
didn't like
it's
you know.
like people tell
And
me
how long
people
would it
tell
have
me
taken you to realize that hey, this happens because of this, or this is all stemmed from an underlying thing that had that you had no choice as a child, perhaps. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
no. The only reason why I know all that now is because I did the therapy and the rehab.
Yeah.
Because when you're young, if you don't have a problem, you're not going to change anything, right?
Right.
And then
Right.
if you don't have a problem, you're not going to look, why is there a problem?
Right.
So just all after the fact that I know that now. But
Mm.
now it's like I know myself so well.
Yeah.
One of the things keeping me clean is that I know that my brain is the same brain I had when I was 20 years old and wild and crazy. It's the same brain. The only difference now is I have a recovery program.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
I removed that. I'm still crazy. In my head, my thoughts are still crazy. Every
So
day,
that's why I
I
love you,
think
Anton.
about crazy
That's why
shit.
we love you, mate. Because
Well,
you,
yeah.
that's who you are. It's a charismatic crazy. Don't worry.
Well, here,
It's a good.
Yeah, but no, there's a bad crazy too. Trust me. So it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
Yeah, we'll just
I'm
keep
like,
that
why am
one.
I?
Just keep that one locked up. No one has to
No, this one
worry about that
is
one.
yeah, I keep it at bay. And the thing is, if I have my support system, my recovery, and my fiance, and I just share honestly, and I'm honest with myself with how I feel, and I share
Isn't
that.
that one of the biggest things is being honest with yourself and being able to be
Oh yeah,
honest with others.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing. And once you can do that and feel that, that's a huge it's a huge weight that just comes off your shoulders.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I know for
there's a
yeah. Go
saying
ahead.
that's like, stay in your head, you're dead. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, pretty much.
if all you have is your own
True.
counsel and you're like in your own mind, you have nothing to bounce anything off. So when you look in the
You
mirror,
only see one perspective all the time. You hear
That-
one perspective.
that's it. And then,
Yeah.
something else you guys were saying, like, I've heard in general, like, we're just a compilation of our habits. You know what I mean? And it takes 66 days to make a habit and 66 days to break a habit. And I heard you don't really break habits, you replace them. So if you're like addicted to coffee or something, right? You got to replace it with something,
Something else, like
or
a trigger, different trigger. Yeah.
well, they're saying like if you're addicted to beer, it's not even like the beer it's like the carbonation. So you can replace,
Something
beer
else, sugar
with soda
free.
water.
Even with fast food and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. You
Right,
just
right.
replace it. Yeah.
But then I also wonder if like maybe even taking like some of these like, hey, you take one thing and then you get into the habit of taking it, and then you take the next thing, and then you're saying like,
well, I think, and that's probably Anton. And you can tell me if I'm wrong, but you've substituted the party stuff, and it's almost you pick your poison. It's like you've chosen bodybuilding, and that's kind of for myself too. I think bodybuilding kept me grounded and focused in the gym and accountable for that. And obviously, you can say bodybuilding's not the healthiest thing, but going to the gym and eating well is healthy. It's just that we've chosen a different poison to take to help us take it to a different level of
Well,
our
I can
Absolutely.
explain something. I can explain something pretty good about that. So,
Mm.
so when I was taking drugs, I had a good time right away, and I had like suffering like later on. So instant gratification, bad consequences later on. With training, I'm suffering right now, and I have good consequences later. It's the opposite.
mm,
So it's like you're replacing something, yeah, but not really. It's like I go from something that's like I do, I have fun, and then I don't think about tomorrow. Then tomorrow, I regret, I have shame, I fucking hate myself. And then bodybuilding it's the thing that I would do hard right now, and then reap benefits later, and then I'm proud of myself.
Mm.
mm,
So I was actually rebuilding my self-esteem training and bodybuilding. That's why I started bodybuilding in the first place. Because I had like the void, right? And then I didn't like how I was. And then when I started training and accomplishing things by myself, I started feeling better about myself. And then I had like feedback from the outside world because of my genetics. When I was young, oh shit, you're big, muscular. I like that. So subconsciously I kept doing bodybuilding. But the thing is, when I did drugs, I didn't want to do bodybuilding, didn't want to train, didn't want to sleep. It's like I just was crazy.
Yeah.
Just kept going. So when I would go to rehab, sleep 5 days, withdrawals, whatever, and then I would wake up. First thing I would do, I would go work out because I got to get back on what made me feel good for real, you know?
Mm.
So it's like there's never gonna be anything that replaces the feeling of what the drug gave me because it's just unreal. It's just too
Right.
much, right? So I got to accept that it's never gonna come back. But the thing is, they say, in my program that the opposite of addiction is connection. So that's why I do these meetings too, the 12-step meetings.
Right.
You go there, you connect with people, and sometimes what you were looking for on drugs
Can you
was
tell us
was the feeling of being
what's
loved.
a
And
12-step meeting? Tell us what that is.
so the 12-step meeting, the Bill and Bob in the 30s, one was a doctor, Dr. Bob, the other one was the finest guy, Bill Wilson, I think, and they wrote this book, and that became the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And those 12 steps, that book saved millions of lives because back
Mm.
then there was no fentanyl crisis. It was the alcohol crisis because they even like tried to like ban it for a few years, during that time in the US, and then that didn't work. They brought it back. So back then, people would arrive almost dead drunk at the hospital. They would clean him up with some pills, benzos, for anxiety. Then they'll have a seizure. Good. Oh, you're fixed now. Go and they would go out in the world, come back worse 2 weeks later. Like what the fuck? So science could not fix alcoholism, but then Bill and Bob found out that by trying to help other alcoholics in the hospitals, both of them were staying sober.
Mm.
It's like, wait, so by helping other people, we're staying sober by helping each other.
Right.
So the whole thing with the 12-step program, it's based around helping others. And also there's a acceptance, the willingness to do it. I didn't just, you kind of like introspect. There's a lot of like digging, you go through that, and then like a lot of maintenance.
Right.
The stuff more about maintenance and praying and giving back, also spreading the message. So the only way they say that in the meeting is pretty cool. It's like the only way you keep what you have is by giving it away. So the only way you can keep your recovery and your sobriety is by giving it away to other people.
Wow.
This is what they did back then.
Mm.
And to be honest, if it wasn't for these two guys, people would be dying. Millions of lives would have been lost.
Yeah.
So, and what's interesting thing about Calum, like even though we're doing this podcast, I feel like that's what Calum's been doing, right? Because like Calum's gone through like the craziest last few years, and I think even the birthing of this podcast was like, I want to put my story out there. Like our first episode was like literally just digging up the past and saying, hey, I don't want to hold on to this. I want to help other people. I want to share this story. That's why I'm gonna be honest with you. He wanted to have you on, and these are the type of guests that he wants to have on. Is like, because we want to talk about things to lift people up. Because it's hard, right? Life gets hard. Hey, when you're good, you're good. But life doesn't work like that, right? The higher the highs, hey, sometimes the down is really
Yeah.
bad. But to your point, I think the healing of human connection is so powerful. And that was
for
kind of
sure.
one of the missions of this podcast was like, hopefully humans are connecting to this podcast. And that's really kind of the mission I think we've been trying to put out there is like, hey, if you're struggling, if you're going through things, we don't want it to be all, oh, hey, we want to hide this and we want to make you feel like you need to be perfect. It's, no. We're all imperfect people trying to figure out how to make it through this thing called life. And by you guys telling your stories, I'm hoping, like to your point, like the power of human connection and the healing that you get by opening up and sharing that and giving it away. Maybe you get more. So I mean, yeah.
Well, it's funny you said it because yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I was just talking to Anton on the phone. We were speaking, and you recommended like there's ways that, so it was really beautiful because I look up to Anton as an older brother. I look up to him for advice. Sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I'll tell Anton what's going on and what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, and having been through it yourself, you're able to give me some, hey, these are some things that you can do to not only help yourself, but to help yourself, but by doing that, I want to follow through with these things so that I can learn more about it and in turn pass that on to the next person like he's done for me.
Right.
I hope that by getting myself into a stronger place with with where I'm at in life, with coping and with avoiding those temptations and stuff, that in turn that I can, be that stronger person for when there's someone else in line who's coming up to me going, hey, I'm feeling a bit lost or I'm going through this, and they're asking me, and I'd be like, hey, well, just so happens that I had a good mentor and a friend who was able to help me. Now I can help you. And one of the main things was the follow up. What was it? What were they called? The meetings.
Yeah, the 12 steps.
Yeah, the meetings. So there's and there's like I remember telling, and I was like, he's like, where are you living? I'm like, I'm living here. He's like, there are places all over around here. There are meetings at the 4 p.m. fix. So there's different places you can go where you can go and stay, and that's how you stay accountable, and you can go and see them. I didn't get a chance to go yesterday, but I'm looking at hopefully getting in there today or even tomorrow.
Yeah.
And make it. And out of curiosity, now that I think, how often do you go at the moment? And are you going like? Is this like just a weekly thing, or is it obviously as often as you need? But at the moment, to maintain and to continue on where you're at, do you just maintain yourself by going say once a week, or what do you do?
Well, when I came out of my last rehab, in the program, there's something that they recommend. It's called the 90-90. It's 90 meetings in 90 days. And I did that. So straight out of the rehab, the day I got out of the rehab, I went straight to a meeting.
Yeah.
And I did my first of 90 meetings. And I would go to one every day. And I was lucky that there was one day that was twice a day. So I would get Sunday off and then do 2 on Saturdays. So I did that for 90 days.
Yeah, right.
And after that, I went down to 3 for like a year.
3 a week, 3 per week.
Yeah, 3 a week.
Yeah.
And then I went down to like 1, 2. And I've been doing 1 lately. But sometimes like I like to go more.
Mm.
And so I went last Sunday, and I'm gonna go again tonight.
Yeah.
And you can also get a home group, a group that you go every week, no matter what, and that you share your numbers with other people there. So if you don't show up, they're
They can
gonna
check
call
in
you.
on you and say, see how you
Hey,
doing.
where are you?
Yeah.
So then you're really accountable.
Yeah.
And then there's also the cool thing with that is it's free. It's free, and it's thrown by people who are recovering addicts only. And they're involved for free. The government is not involved. The authorities are not involved. So you can say whatever you want in there.
Yeah.
Whatever you're going through. And whatever crazy thing you think you're so unique, you'll say it, and then people will relate. Yeah, I've done that. I've done worse.
Yeah.
So there's
So you can
because the thing
connect
with
and relate,
addiction,
and then also you're not alone. You realize that, geez, you're not the only one there's lots of other people going.
there's so many people.
And
So many
one
people.
thing I've noticed about, because I used to help out this group called Celebrate Recovery, and it was like the 12-step program. It was a little bit more in the church setting, right? But one thing I noticed is those that hit rock bottom, they oftentimes they're the ones that feel like, to me, like they live life at the fullest because they know what the bottom feels like, right? And there's another thing they say, rock bottom often has a trap door, right? So even though you hit rock bottom,
there's lower.
there's another bottom, right? But the key thing is those
gosh.
people, like, I think what's interesting about Antoine is like, he knew that he had to reach out to you because he went through it, right? Because he was like, hey, I know what he's going through. I know what I needed. So that's why it was connecting to you, right? And I think that being around people, because there's nothing to gain there. There's no ego at these recovery groups. They're not, hey, I got to look good in front. It's like, hey, look, I'm just trying to get better. I'm just trying to like work on myself. And I just need as much support as I can, right? And I think there's something very beautiful being around people that are vulnerable and open in that setting, because that's truly where recovery happens. And more importantly, I think that's where life happens, because we go around life, everyone's just trying to hold up their personas or their ego. I heard this thing, but like the depression is your body's way of saying, F you, I'm done playing this character. I'm done. And that's why you get depressed, because you're not being authentically you. But in these groups, you get to be authentic. You get to be yourself. You can let down all the cloaks and all like the costumes and just be yourself. And I think that's really the core of what allows us to be happy. Like I was sitting on this other podcast thing that I was doing. I was like, hey, you judge a fish by the way it climbs a tree, it'll always feel dumb and stupid because fishes aren't meant to climb trees.
Right.
And I think that's human beings. We're constantly, doing things that the internet's telling us to do or this person's telling us to do. And I think going to these groups, you start discovering who you are and you start becoming more authentic to yourself. And I think that's really where true happiness lies,
Definitely, yeah, good start.
I think a lot of people are just, including myself, acting out of fear because when you think about it, every time, even if you feel good and then you use drugs to feel better, you're not accepting the present moment the way it is. You're kind of afraid of it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to act out of fear and do something. And then fear will drive your whole life. And then you'll just react to things. You'll react to how you feel and try to change it. And you're always afraid, right? And
It's almost like you
so
rely
I
on
guess,
the drugs for confidence, isn't it?
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and the thing is, when you go into a program, you got to stop acting out of fear. And then you act aligned with like the greater good. And people, if they believe, they use the word God, right? Or God could be also for the atheist, good orderly direction. So for the atheists out there, God, just think about that. But then you act with God's will. You align with like what's right. And then you don't act out of fear. You try to act out of faith that if I'm doing this right now, if I'm doing the best thing for me right now, surely I will have the best outcome for myself.
Right.
The thing is, as for addicts, the only way you're going to get the best outcome for yourself is that if you stay clean.
Right.
That's the right thing to do. If you do drugs, you're not going to get a good outcome. You'll get a better outcome if you don't do drugs in the future, right? So, yeah, so I think a lot of people will be acting out of fear. Well, me, I was acting out of fear. And now sometimes I'm like, I want to react. I want to do and say one thing. But then if I just wait for a second, okay, what's the right thing here?
Right.
Every time I know what the right thing is, I feel what the right thing is with my heart. I got to do that. But back in the day, you would ask me, is it the right thing? I said, no, I know it's not, but I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I didn't give a fuck because I didn't suffer enough. I gave a fuck 2 weeks later when I was like regretting everything. Trust me. So
Yeah.
I did give a fuck.
I like what you
But
said
the
there.
thing
Is like, it's almost like fear and faith are the counterparts.
Opposites.
And the
The
opposite.
opposites.
And like
Yeah.
fear is almost like operating out of this deficit state where you're reacting to things and you're trying to fill this like little void right here, right? Whereas faith,
It's just
you're
trusting.
you're operating out of the overflow and over like in an abundant state because you're almost like the faith is adding like there's so much more, right? And I feel like those are two polar opposite ways of living, and pursuit.
With faith is like you act, you do the best you can, and then you let go of the results, and then you have faith that everything will be fine. It's like if you truly let go, there's like no more stress, right? You accept the thing with in the 12th step, the serenity prayer. That's like if you follow that prayer, it's that we say it like multiple times during the meetings at the beginning and the end.
Hey, can you
It
share
says,
it real quick? Can you share it?
What?
Can you share
Yeah,
it?
I was going to say it. So God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So that's the serenity prayer. So you accept the things you can't change. Like you see people, oh fucking rain, the rain. Okay, you can either yell at the rain or you can accept and dance in the rain.
Yeah.
Same situation, different outcome.
Yeah.
And then if there's something you can't change, like, or you're not feeling good about yourself, it's scary to go see a therapist. Have the courage to fucking change your situation and go see a therapist.
Right.
Because that you can change. But then sometimes it's scary, so you need to ask for courage. And then the last part is like, okay, now the wisdom to know which is which. And to do that, you need to take a pause and think sometimes, you can't react.
Right. Well, hey, Antoine, really appreciate you being on the pod. Hey, this is kind of a special episode for me, too, because I'm in Cali with Cal. This is the first. I've been in Hawaii, so I got back yesterday, a little jet lag, so I was like, oh, I got to get a little caffeine. I think Cal, and then you're in Canada, so we're like, hey, we're doing a little bit earlier today, but back here in California with Cal in person. Hey, Cal, I do got a little gift for you.
Yeah.
So I know you just moved into your new spot.
Yeah.
And it was your birthday recently. So,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
here's a little
Whoa.
baited a belated birthday gift. And
Oh, no worries.
check it out, though, bro.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Cheers. What have we got here?
Yeah, so you got some stuff from
Oh,
Hawaii.
from Hawaii.
That's like one of my favorite things.
Fleshlight? Is that a fleshlight?
No, it's Furikake
Oh, no,
party
no.
mix.
What is this? It's cocktails in paradise.
Oh,
Cookies-
man, it's-
cookies in paradise. So it's what is that?
Oh.
Like a little snacks?
Yeah, it's just hey, that's addicting right there. you
we
might
got
need to get a recovery
yeah.
from that.
Mini bottle.
Yeah,
These
sure,
are
yeah.
good.
All right, yeah, you got the Honolulu
Honolulu
cookies.
All
Yeah,
We'll swerk out.
Yeah. We got some chocolates.
yeah. You got some sweets.
Yeah, I got a sweet tooth.
But here's the
What's this
birthday
one?
gift right here.
Oh, Demon Slayer. Beautiful.
Ah,
Oh.
Tanjiro Kamado figure.
slaying our
You know-
demons,
you
Cal.
know, you know I love Demon Slayer.
Well, look
Yeah,
at you know
thanks,
you
man.
got the tattoos
Yeah.
on the ears, and then you got
Slaying demons,
the
I know.
the character. I saw that over at Don Quixote, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, son, I gotta get this for Cal.
No, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of figurines now. I'm gonna have to put a little shelf in my apartment for it.
No, you guys need to like set up the podcast room with like cool shit in the back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're just kind of
some
whipped
shelves
this
on
up.
the wall.
Yeah,
you know,
we've
put
got to
some-
get a nice little like a desk and some chairs and maybe some pictures or something. So, yeah, work in progress. But Anton, thanks so much for coming on board today, because I told the team, I was like, hey, one of the guys I really want to get on ASAP is Anton, because I look up to him. I've looked up to him as a friend, as a mentor, as a bodybuilder a lot, and so yeah, I'm always going to be in your corner as well. And mate, yeah, keep. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with? I mean, I'm looking forward to the next time we get on the pod. I know you've got some big exciting things coming up this year, which I'm going to keep my trap shut about, because that's exciting. But I'm looking forward to watching your progress with the bodybuilding. I wanted to ask you more questions personally about training and nutrition, all that sort of stuff, but we can get into that another time, because I know we've hit it now. But I really enjoyed everything that we hit today, and I think thanks for coming on board. And I know you've got a birthday coming up soon too, 28th of July or something like that, with a little bit of a bush dwarf or something at the gym. So if I can make it out there, I'd love to come and catch up and grab a pump and some food.
Yeah, let me know, man.
Yeah,
You know,
will
and
do.
let's do another one of those.
Yeah,
right?
man,
And maybe you could come on mine to promote your podcast too.
Yes, you've got definitely.
Hey, yo, and then just real quick, so you know, Cal, I'm wearing the new Lift Lab Pod shirt.
Mm-hmm.
We got the new Lift Lab podcast shirt. If you want to support, you can get some on the website at liftlabpod.com, and you know you can catch it on there. And then also, Antoine, do you want to kind of give your social, like your handles and your podcast name, and so where people can
Yeah, I'm
find
sure you guys will put in the description my Instagram at Antoine V87. And actually, I'm doing 3 podcasts right now. The first one is Pure Muscle Radio on HD Muscle YouTube. And I do that with Justin Shire, Dorian, Quentin, Guy Stonino, and Nick Walker. We all like kind of rotate and stuff. It's kind of like a cool chat with like IBB pros. And then on the side, I do the Jiu-Jitsu One podcast. It's me and my friend Juji Mufu, aka John Call.
Yeah.
We have our podcast together that we have with the guest, and that's on ivbama.org. Another one on that same website is the AV and the Wrath. It's me and Frank McGrath. We have a podcast, and from usually every week, and we just have different guests and just talk shit.
That's
And
just
it's
you
very
and
random.
You and Frank that do that one.
Yeah, AV and the Wrath. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna come down.
I'll
We'll do
definitely,
one together.
whether it be in person or even over Zoom or something remote.
Yeah.
Let me know when. I'll come on.
Yeah, there's that. I got my website, avbodybuilding.com.
Yeah.
My sponsors, HD Muscle, Iron Bull Strength, Barefoot Shoes, and Biolabs. Am I forgetting something? Hope not. You know, sometimes if you didn't write them down, you forget.
Pump is the cure. I've got to say that's the original. That's where it all started.
Oh yeah.
Anton is the original, the OG creator of Pump is the
Yeah.
Cure. So that's where it all comes
Cure.
from. It stems from
I know.
him. Yeah.
Antoine, really appreciate you. I mean, honestly, love this podcast, and it was like very, you know, I appreciate your openness to share your story and the honesty that you have, because hopefully, again, through the Lift Lab, we do want to lift people up. We want to lift each other up, and
Right.
you know, I think
Make
by
the world a better place.
yeah, sharing your story and also kind of just being honest about things, because I think a lot of people, they won't be as transparent, right? Because they're still holding on and hiding things. But the fact that both of you guys, you know, are sharing this, especially on the podcast, hopefully helps a lot of people.
I think it will. Yeah. All right. Thanks very much, Anton. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode. Cheers.